All right, guys. So welcome to session 2 here. So for this one, we have Coach Brian Nix, who is currently the defensive coordinator and strength coach at Alcoa High School in Tennessee. And as was previously mentioned, Coach has been there for 17 years. In a couple of years, they messed up and did not win the state championship, but 14 of those years, they did. Coach is going to talk about creeper and sim pressures tonight. So, Coach Nix, go ahead.
All right, guys. Yeah, I'll get started. Appreciate you guys having me on. I think some of the stuff you guys do in Georgia is really good. I think your podcast is great. You guys had me on with Coach Standard, and I took a page and a half of notes just actually being on the podcast, listening to stuff that he was saying, listening to Rocky on this last one. I've got my book out here, and I'm definitely going to contact him. Just give some great information there. So definitely humbled to be on here. Alcoa is a special place. If you've ever been to it, there's not many places like it in Tennessee where you've got a community that supports you. We don't win like we win without some really good players, without community support, without administrative support. We like to think that we get the most out of our kids that we can, but we definitely got a lot of things going in our favor. You don't win 14 state championships just by players, just by coaching, just by scheme. It's a culmination of so many things, and still extremely blessed and thankful to be here. A lot of my progression, I'm going to talk about sim pressures and creepers. And I thought it was interesting. A lot of the things that Rocky said were dead on with how we've progressed in our defense, how we've changed. I started out as an offensive coordinator. I was an offensive line coach. I started out as an offensive coordinator in Colorado. Moved in and coaching defense when John Reed hired me here in 2004. We were over/under quarters for a long time, and just slowly starting in 2016 progressed into now that we're more of a base three-man line tight front. And I always think it's interesting how much time as coaches we put into learning new scheme, learning new coverage, learning new fronts. And I always wondered why that was, because we all agree that it's a small part of it. We always say that, the culture is more important.
Hello.
You guys good?
Yes, sir. We got you.
Okay. We all agree that there's so many things more important than scheme, that without proper culture, without, just a program standard, the scheme is a small part of it. But I got to hear 2 years ago at a fundraiser, Mike Durant, which if you don't know who he is, he was the pilot in Black Hawk Down. And he talked about the things that make a team successful, make an organization successful. And he says, the tactics are only 15% of it. But he said they're the easiest to manipulate and adjust. He said, when you start talking about your people, when you start talking about your culture, when you start talking about standards, changing your people takes time. Changing your culture takes time. Whereas if I find a great coverage and I can learn the inner workings and install it, even though it's just 15%, it's probably the easiest to alter, change, and manipulate. And it shows why we think it's such a minor part, but we spend hours and hours of our life talking and trying to find that, because I think it's easiest to manipulate. And the biggest thing we always say we try to be complex but not complicated. I got that from Stanley McChrystal in his book Team of Teams. When he restructured the whole U.S. military, and he said he wanted it to be complex, but he didn't want it to be complicated. And I think we're always trying to find how we achieve that goal. I'll start out here. Our base defense is we would say that we're a tight front. Our ends are 4-0-4 defensive ends, inside shade on the tackle. We will also, just like Rocky, play a heavy 5 on the outside shade, or we will get them an outside shade and pitch them inside, and they're big gap defenders. So we're going to line up very similar to Rocky. We're a quarter space team. By rule, if we've got 2 detached, we'll play read 2, straight quarters here, free safety's a box fitter. And so that's how we base out of. Went away from a 4-man line 4-3 for very similar reasons. I love what Rocky said about having a potential 6 guys in the back end, more guys standing up with the game becoming a perimeter game, getting the ball out, now screens, bubble screens. We just benefited from having another stand-up guy and just gave us some more versatility. And I think that's the evolution of defense. A guy that I love, Cody Alexander. If you don't know who he is, it's the Art of X, Coach A. He's written 5 books, and he's a really great resource for high school coaches. And just he does a blitz of the month. And more of the sim pressures I'm talking about is his blitz of the month this month. But he's just a great resource and just talks about the hybrid defense and how we're getting to more of these positionless defenses, that these guys that can play multiple spots and do multiple things. So just wanted to real quickly, that's what our base looks like. What I'm going over today with creepers and sim pressures, because I agree 100% what Rocky said. You better be good at your base defense. This is 15% of what we do. It's a curveball for us, but it's something that when we need them in situations when we're playing a bigger school, we're extremely successful. But because of that success, all of our non-region games are against 6A schools. We're a 3A school. We're about right at 700 kids. We play Maryville High School every year, which they've won. 2 years ago, they were undefeated 6A state champions. We played Dobbins Bennett with 2,000 kids, Blackman High School. So we played some of those big schools. And you're always going to get into a situation where you're just not going to have better kids than somebody. And so these creepers and sim pressures have been answers for us in a way to situation where we can still be sound. We can still fit the run, which, like Rocky said, that's so true, because we move, we stem, we slant, we blitz, but the fits are everything. And the only game we lost 14-9 this year, and the winning touchdown was off a quarterback counter G that our will linebacker didn't fit right. Just a basic principle of not finding that pull or not getting inside a seal block. And they busted for a 40-yard touchdown, and we lose 14-9. And it wasn't some unbelievable call. It wasn't a trick play that got us. It was not fitting gaps. What he said is so true. But I think this is something that has really been good for us that we found. So just to define it, because there's a lot of different ideas about what is a creeper, what is a sim pressure. For us, a creeper, we're going to show a 4-man line, and we're going to bring one non-declared rusher while dropping a declared rusher. So, and Cody Alexander, once again, calls them replacement blitzes. We're going to take one of those down linemen, down declared rushers, drop them, and replace them with another. And this is usually typically an over front for us, and it's our quarterback package. We package everything. We have weather blitzes, transportation blitzes, baseball blitzes, and a baseball blitz is a 4th rusher coming for us. I think we called 7 6-man pressures last year. It's just something we don't do a lot. If we bring 5, that's us really heating you up and getting after you. It's just bringing 5 guys. So we're going to try to, 9-man spacing, quarters fits, just like Rocky does, and very similar package. It worked out good together. Sim pressure for us is we're going to show 5 or 6 declared rushers while they're dropping. Some of those declared rushers create an 8-man drop, and this is typically a 5-man front for us. This year, we did a lot more creepers, and I'll go over why that is. 2 years ago, very few creepers, a ton of sim pressure. So I think that once again into what offense you're seeing, what works best for your personnel, what are you trying to accomplish, and I think it comes into the teams you have to beat. I think we all look on our schedule, and for us, it's always who do we have to beat, get to the state championship, and who do we have to beat? What offenses are we going to likely see? Is it something that's going to give us a problem? Like Coach said, is it a wing T? Is it a triple? Is it something that we've got to have some packages built in to be ready to deal with that? So when and why we use creepers, for us, I think, and to quote Dave Aranda, there's a ton of merit from getting from odd to over. Is that we're an odd-based defense. We will get in an under front, but I think you can cause an offense a lot more problems by being able to present and play an over front. And once again, to me, it's the way to window dress a defense. Creeper, sim pressures, it's the way that we can run a couple of things. Like, an offense will say, hey, we're going to run power, but we're going to run shifts and motions, formations to try to create confusion in the defense. We try to do something very similar with our line moves, our blitzes, that we're only going to do a few things, try to make it complex, not complicated, and then dress it up with different line presentations with bugging a backer, with sliding a front. And so to me, it's a way to window dress a defense that we can make we always like to say, anytime we can say, install something new, and for the majority of the players say, this is the same as. If I can, hey, we're installing this blitz, but for the end, the nose, the mic, and the SAM, it's the same as something they already know. And I think that's how you can build multiplicity in your defense. For me, it's a low-cost pressure. I always want to know, if you start talking about pressure and I start having to play man, we work man every day, we're still not really good at it. Our corners are pretty good man defenders, but we specialize. We play quarters and some type of hard cover 2 and a little bit of cover 3. And we're not really good at man. So anytime I can get some pressure and still stay in quarters, by rule, I don't know that read cover 2 is a great pass defense, but it is for us just because we work it a lot and we're really good at it. We can distribute routes, and we're going to make a quarterback consistently throw the ball. They're going to have to catch the ball with us hitting them and challenging the throw. And to me, creepers, for us, it dictates protections a lot simply because we are an odd front. If we show this over front, we were more than likely going to get a certain protection. So this is our first one. So our front would be over. And what we've done, and I got this from Dave Aranda a few years ago when he was at Wisconsin, when we get an over, we bring our defensive end over. And this does 2 things for us. If you give us a lot of 21 personnel and we feel like that you're going to be kicking out guys a lot, like Coach said, we're really good when this guy's a little athletic guy. When we have to play a bigger linebacker type guy here, it limits what we can do scheme wise. We like this guy to be little and fast. And like Coach says, you can take a 150 pounder. If you coach him up, if he's got the right mentality, he can be really effective. But if a team puts a bigger tight end or they've got a good fullback, sometimes this ends up a stalemate. Whereas if we bring a defensive end over here, we can win that battle. And for us, this was a really good player this year. he was a Georgia Tech commit, Mr. Football winner. And so if we put him over there to the field and you were wanting to run power, you wanted to get the tight end, in a pro set or even in a tray set, it gave us a way to get in a 3 and a 9 and almost steal a gap with that guy. So just in normal down and distance, if we get in a passing situation, we're a drop 8 team. We're going to try to get pressure, and I'm going to go over that with our sim pressures. We're going to try to get pressure with 3. When we can't, the next thing we go to is this over front. And the first thing we do in it is line twist. And most of the time, we're going to get half slide here. We're going to get, if we show this, we're going to get half slide, and they're going to put this guy man-to-man with the back, checking and IDing this linebacker for a blitz. And when we get that, then we feel like we want to win this one on tackle versus the real athletic. Our nickel is a traditional jack in any other defense. With tight fronts, we'll call him a jack, but that's a nickel for us, Sam. It just, when we started transitioning from 4-man to 3-man line, our nickel package was a 3-man line, so he became the nickel. It's just the reason that verbiage is like that. If that doesn't work, we can't win that one-on-one matchup. We're going to go to X stunts, middle X stunts, tech stunts here, and then we go to these creepers. But once again, it's something that it just gives us a curveball. It's something that we can install, and so the quarterback package is going to tell a lot of guys to do the same thing when they hear a quarterback name, and then the specific name is going to tell the assignments of what the guys do. So this is over Bledsoe. Here are the rules really quick. That strong defensive end is going to box. So if you see he is box, he is outside of everything. He's turning everything back in. The weak defensive end is going to come over to 3 technique. He is a one-face move to the center, but knowing that he's going to balance up the rush, and he should end up to the opposite shoulder of the quarterback. So if the center were to turn to him, he can have a 2-way go on that, but he's got to end up to the opposite shoulder of the quarterback. This is an Oscar call by our defensive tackle, and that tells him it's, Dave Aranda calls it stairway to heaven. I'm going to work out to the guard. If the guard is fanning out, I'll go off his butt and contain through him, and you'll see that on some of these clips. If he is down, I'll cross his face. If the tackle's down, I'll cross his face. It helps. We have played really athletic noses. I don't know that we've had a nose over 230, 240 pounds in a long time. This year, the guy was 5'11", 220 pounds, but he could run. He was really strong. So, this is good. If I had a 6'1", 300-pound guy, I don't know how effective this would be, how much I would do it, but we play with smaller guys right there. And then the nickel has a drop, and then his rules were – what we try to stay in with this is we're trying to stay in quarters once again. So the wheel is taking the place of the mic. The nickel is taking the place of the wheel. And 9 times out of 10, we're going to be playing some type of hard cover 2 over here, whereas he is going to be a hash dropper, dropping on 2, carrying 2. So that's the blitz. That's the rules. Now, I'm going to jump back and forth here with huddle because, for whatever reason, when I've loaded up on PowerPoint, it just seems like it sticks a lot. So I think this will go smooth. So what I've done is I've got a few NFL clips, I've got a few college clips, and I've got our stuff. This is how we install it, teach it to our kids. Jim Chaney came here and spoke at one of our clinics, and he talked about his top 3 passing concept and never showed a piece of film of Tennessee or Georgia. he was showing all the NFL guys and how they do it right, how they do it wrong. And so I was like, because he said it was just a cut up tape he made for his guys. And so since then, I have really went to lengths to try to get some of this film and try to go and find them. And there's a lot of great resources out there. Chris Vassar, if you guys don't know who Vass is, he does the Make Defense Great Again podcast, which is awesome. You can get on his Patreon account. You can pay him for subscription, and he has all of this stuff broken down. Now, a lot of this stuff is stuff that I found. This is on mine. But you can get on his and you have access to it. And it's on his drive. He's got Georgia, LSU, all these teams broken down by their calls. So that, these are in our calls. But Vass is a great resource, and he's not paying me anything. He's a really great resource to get this stuff. So all right, so here are the Bears. This is a similar look. So once again, you're going to see they're in that overlook. It's a little bit head up here. They're going to run it on the field.
Hey, Coach, all we can see is your PowerPoint.
Okay. It's not good. Hold on. You see it now?
No, it's still just – you may have to, unshare your screen and then reshare it.
Yeah, because you might – I think you shared that tab, and so it's staying on there.
When it asks you, choose your entire screen, and that way it'll let you go back and forth. Okay. There you go. Now we can see it.
Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, so here's Chicago, and once again, they're running this from the boundary, where the NFL is really no field and boundary. Everything's in the middle of the field. But you're going to see he's more of a spread front, but 91's got that Oscar technique. They're taking 92, and I dropping him, and he's dropping with a little bit more width. The coverages are going to vary, and that's a good thing about this. It's a four-man blitz. You can doctor up and change the coverages as much as you want. But once again, it's really good for teams who like to quick release those backs, who want to get the backs out in the route. They're less inclined to leave them in. And once again, they turn this loose. And for a four-man pressure, you're getting instant pressure on the quarterback. Here's a look at the Texans doing it. Once again, and this B gap, so much in the NFL, I've got a cut up of tape of all the sim pressures and creepers ran the NFL in 2017. And so much that they do is trying to manipulate that B gap. They're trying to get something in there. And so once again, he's going to, on this one, so 59 is going to drop. Now, we never usually do this. We stay with the rule. That way, if a guy hears a quarterback, guy knows who's got the Oscar, the nickel knows they're dropping. But this is just a similar path. And there's so many different variables. If you see a lot of this or want to run a lot of this, and you by changing one word, you can keep a lot of the same as, but they just get that pressure inside pretty quick. Here's one with Kansas City. Once again, they've got two stand-up guys, more of like a peso look. And they leave that tackle, and once again, just trying to manipulate that B gap, working the Oscar move with a pretty big guy to the field, and just once again dropping that guy. I'm going to go on to some of these college ones. All right, this is Army doing this. This is Nate Woody. Has started doing a lot of this stuff since he's been with Don Brown. If you guys, Nate Woody's at Army. He's, Vass calls it East Coast 3-4. He was at Wofford, App State, but here's almost exactly the way it would look for us. They're running it from the boundary. There's the Oscar call. He's going to loop all the way out. There's the one-face move by the three technique. And I think the coaching point for this, Mike, is to make sure if you get blocked by the back, to end up on the inside. And we always, Kirby Smart always says, make these part-time blockers block you. They've got enough in the protection to pick this up. But we feel like if we can get a blitzing linebacker on a tailback, that's a win for us. We've got to be able to win that one-on-one matchup, because usually if he's a really good tailback, he ain't going to be a great pass protector. If that's the case for Georgia, probably the case for us. You'll see once again the dropper replacing and sliding right underneath that, and the quarterback almost throwing it right to him. And that's a pretty tough game for them. They're going against Cincinnati, which is a really good offense. I think they ran this like 5 times against Cincinnati. This is from this past year. I didn't have the end zone of this one, but you can see almost the exact same look at Mike's bluffing. Now he's through, and once again, he's delivering that back into the lap of the quarterback, feeling that pressure. The nose works out, and now they're sliding through. Here's LSU doing it. So they walk this guy down, and once again, he times it up perfect. And he slides through, and that's 40. You saw him making a bunch of plays yesterday in those playoff games. He's turned out to be a really good pro in the NFL. Once again, the Oscar, the out call by the tackle, the one face move by the 3, and the defensive end is boxing. So you can see 43 dropping out. I'll move through these. Okay, so let's get to the end zone version of this one. So we go over. So we've got a defensive end over right there. He's boxing, defensive end. And you can see, once again, I agree with Coach. We played with small guys. He was 5'10", 180 pounds, really fast, really strong. And we've walked the Mike out a little wider right there, and it fits up pretty well against the run. Because that end is boxing everything out, that nickel, he's going to play run first. He's got drop rules. He's going to play run first. If he gets run, he's going to engage. If he doesn't, then he's going to drop. So once again, this is over right. So we got an over call. One thing we'll try to do sometimes is stick our dude down in that 3 technique in passing situations, because once again, it becomes a problem, an issue for them. And once they start giving him help with that center, then we can manipulate games back here. So that, and I think the biggest thing, we're going to always try to communicate those linebackers. We tell them, the guys that play closer to the ball, you got to communicate them. You got to tell them what their responsibility. So we're going to tell him in call. We're going to tell him Oscar. We're going to tell him box. So there's some levels of communication. And once again, the nickel, he reads run right here. Even though it's a sprint out, and he gets jumped like that, and he works. We would rather him not spin back inside. And wanted to work the good and the bad. The nice thing is about here is the will can replace him there on that sprint out. But we get some pressure with the 3 technique spiking in and the Mike hitting through, and now they turn the defensive end loose. This is the one of all these quarterback calls. This is the one that we run the most. So I've got the most clips right here. We were a 4-3 team. This was 3 Mike. 3 was our over front. Here it's a different front look. So all we did here was spread mug Bledsoe. So spread's going to give us double 3s. We're going to mug the wheel. And we've widened because we got a trips, empty look. Now, the one rule that we tell coaching point with the nickel is if he feels like he can't execute his coverage responsibility on the line, so they start out an empty, he can go ahead and walk himself off. This is a big game. This is, once again, our cross-county rivals, the undefeated 6A state champions. I would have loved for him to have stayed up on the line a little longer. I'd like for him to stay up and walk out late. He wanted to get out there and do his coverage responsibility. But in the end, we're still going to get the same thing. He's the dropper. He's the Oscar call. We get an in call in a box, and our Mike comes through. And then you can see, they're trying. It's 3rd and 10, and we like to run these creepers in that scenario, so they may think they're going to get a light box and run the quarterback, and we're able to get the 3 down and hit him. And it really helped us because our Mike linebacker, who's probably one of the best players on our defense, went out the 3rd play of the game this game. And so it helped get 40 going, get him a little active to run some of these. I'll show a couple more. All right, so this is over left, in, Oscar, drop. And now they turn it, it's empty protection. We get to overload the side, the defensive end. To me, the coaching point here is, and to me, this is not on the kid, this is on us. He needs to maintain a little bit more width. He's getting tangled up in 72. Make sure that it's like Coach said, it's all about the fits. He needs to be aware. We need to make him aware. Look, we're getting inside pressure. If you will stay more on the line of scrimmage and maintain separation from that tackle, you're going to make this play. Now, the Mike runs him down, and that's great. If that quarterback is a little bit faster, more athletic, maybe we don't that play. So I think one of the biggest coaching points is working that box technique. We work this in half line, so we will set up a half line look and work this side, set up a half line look and work this side when we install this pressure. And once again, it's the quarterback pressure that we run the most. We mugged this one, so we mugged the Mike. So it's just over mug Bledsoe and the Mike's mugging. Oscar, the wheel drops down the hash. We get a knockdown pass. Once again, we walk the wheel up. To me, and this is where it comes in, I think it's so important that on defense, offense, they do everything they can to try to manipulate situations to where they get their best player the ball. We need to do situations where we put our best players in position to make interceptions, to make tackles. To me, this was a situation where really this guy is a more athletic linebacker. Okay, he's more athletic. He's got better feet. This guy was more of our A-gap plugging. Really should have had him coming on this blitz because the scheme is fine. We get the pressure we want. Once again, they got the back out a lot, so we knew we could probably get in his face. But once again, that was a tough order, 23, to make the tackle on the quarterback. And so we end up, because of that, everybody else is doing their job. And we work tackling every day. We drill stuff, but probably putting him in a situation against a pretty athletic quarterback. And then the protection breaks down. He extends the play, and it's 3rd and 14, and they complete it at the first down. So to me, I think so much of this is, once again, trying not to be cute, trying not to vary the scheme. Get your best player in position, because at 7 right here, he probably makes it sack. And so to me, that's not an issue with the player. That's a coaching issue. This last one I'll show you, this was out of our dime, our 3 safety look. We run 3 safeties on. Usually it's drop 8. So we ran that personnel group on 4th and 13, and then still did the same blitz with 4-man line. So once again, in, box. Still, the defensive end needs to be more aware and stay outside. He's going, and he's got to stay outside of all those blockers, being aware of where the pressure comes. Once again, the mic aids the pressure in 4th down to get rid of the ball. Okay. All right. Am I good? Can you guys see my PowerPoint now?
No, we're still on huddle.
Okay. Stop. Got it now?
Yep, now we're good.
Okay. All right. So the next one is Favre. So this is the next most likely one that we do. Once again, when the front here's a quarterback term, the nickel is going to drop. He's a hash dropper. He's a 2-seam dropper. That can be manipulated with coverage. If we wanted to play cover 3 with it, he would take his coverage rules. Within a game, we're usually only going to marry one coverage with him. So we'll start out on Monday saying, okay, when we run Favre this week, this is the coverage we're playing with it. Favre means, so the term, say Bledsoe because Bledsoe for B-gap. We say Favre because it always comes from the field. Favre can be the Mike. Favre can be the Sam. We have it in where the strong safety runs this. We've never actually called it a game. It's one of those things that looks cool at practice, and we put it in, and we like it, and we just never in a situation. We run this one a lot, though, with either the Mike or the Sam. If we run it with the Sam, and this is something I got during quarantine from guy Ty Gower in Texas. He's a great online resource, too. He did a Zoom clinic with us of playing a lot of quarters and letting your Mike be your 2 curl player. And we got a lot of mileage. We had an athletic Mike that can do that. So blitzing the Sam and not having to spin that safety down and play cover 3, it just kept us in our base coverage more, and it was really good for us as an adjustment. We'll send the Mike on this one more just because this is a better cover guy. This is a better rush guy. So it's the same as Bledsoe for him, and him. And then now, once again, same for the end. He's got a one-face move. He's going to even up the rush to the left. Now the defensive end, we would tell him stick. He's a one-face move. He's got to stay on the near shoulder to the midline of the quarterback. And that's something our defensive line coach does a really good job of, working those blitz paths, working those rush paths, trying to even up the rush with the defensive line to get 2 and 2 on each side so that we keep that quarterback in the pocket. There's the rules, and if you guys want any of these, a couple of people have already sent me emails about this. Any of this stuff that you want, I'll be glad to send it to you. And that's why I just put it here as far as the rules and the pressure. So let's go back to the film. Okay, so here's Favre. You guys got it now?
Yeah, we're on the huddle.
Okay. All right, so here's the Packers. You're going to get an Oscar by the tackle. You're going to get an end and a stab. And then that Mike is going to come from all the way over. He kind of gives that coffee house look, that, acting like he's dropping back in coverage. And it gets the offensive line to ignore him. And we've done that a few times. It's something that I like. The kids like doing it. We got a sack off in the Maryville game off of it, bugging that guy up. But he is the box player. And we talk in terms of box or crush, that if you're the edge and you're a spill guy, then it's a crush technique. You could be an outside linebacker, you could be an inside linebacker, but everyone on our defense who has any edge responsibilities should know, even we blitz boundary corner a lot. He's got to know if he is a box or a crush player. So this Mike is a box player. That's telling him he's staying outside of all blocks, keep the ball on your inside shoulder. And he gets to contain rush right there. Here's Kansas City doing it from the boundary. They're doing it with the corner. And so he's got the drop, and they're sitting him more for screen. He's got the Oscar, and they're once again manipulating that B gap. It's just a different way sending that in and bringing that edge pressure, and they turn it loose. Here's a good look with the Steelers. Once again, they're mugging it more of like a sim pressure look, but you give that look a lot. I think it happened 2 years ago with Clemson against LSU in the national championship game. They got LSU out of these compressed formations by mugging this guy up in a position where, a lot of people, we do this. We're going to be on the ball. We're going to get you, press you up, and giving that look. And now bringing this pressure from it. The back blocks him, but I would say if the Steelers felt like that's a win for them. If they can get their blitzing outside linebacker safety on a tailback, even if it's an NFL tailback, on the board that looks fine, they slide it. But you're probably going to get pressure there. This is a win. Aranda was at Wisconsin. This is Wisconsin running it. This is from their load front. These guys are going, and it looks like 3 off the edge, and he's going to work more of a two-face move here, go all the way down, and the end gets inside. They put pressure on the offensive tackle. Oscar call here, drop call here. All right, so and once again, you see when we're calling these, this is an undefeated 6A school, 2,000 kids, really good program, coached really well, and we knew we had to do some different things. So we've got Favre called here. We're bringing it from the field. It was trips, but allowed us to widen the mic. I always feel like if you can bring that pressure, you start getting outside of their line of sight. I coached offensive line before. You're less likely to get identified in the protection. And so we will bring that blitz inside look like the Packers were running it. But if we can get trips, because that's what we're usually going to look like versus trips. And now that Mike will come from depth, trying to make sure that he's 4 steps less from the quarterback. And the cut, to me, in this situation, a lot of times the coverage has to buy you the time. Bringing this Mike from depth in this position, the coverage. Now 23 is going to drop. He's a hash dropper. We're getting cover 2 over there. You got an Oscar call by the nose. Good by him, shuffling, sliding all the way out. He needs to keep coming. He needs to keep going. He's the opposite side rush. He needs to keep going to even up that rush. Good move by the defensive end, and we pressure right there. Here's another one. Once again, bringing it from the field. This was a third-round playoff team. Got the over front. He's got the drop rule. We're running a 2-seam carry coverage right here, so he's carrying 2 in the seam. You'll notice this 3 technique standing up. This was a guy that had played linebacker his whole career. You'll see him in the sim pressures blitzing. We moved in the line. A lot of those guys that would do that, we will let them continue to stand up. And sometimes it looks funky. An end down, a nose down, and then the 3 techniques standing up. Allowing these guys to play in a stance they're more comfortable with. We feel like we've gotten more out of that than forcing them to be down in the 3 technique. And so that's why there's really no philosophical reason just besides he played better standing up. He liked it. And so we would let him play like that. Once again, similar look. The mic is outside. End goes inside. Ball comes out quick. And because we're dropping that other player, sliding the wheel over, now we got a screen and we've got hats out there. We've got guys to tackle that screen to get it on the ground. So, all right, so let's look at Favre. This is one I'm going to show it really briefly because I know I've got about 20 minutes here and I want to get into the sim pressures that we have not ran a ton, but I think is a good one. And I think we will. Once again, this year, we had a really good defensive line and we had a guy that could get pressure. Can you guys see this screen now?
Yes, sir. We got you.
Okay. For some reason, it's not. Let's go here. This was one Aikman that we put in and anticipating using a little more in some situations where we couldn't get a rush. And just a lot of times this year, we were getting pressure with 3 or 4. And so I'm not going to be too cute. If I know that my down 3 or my down 4 are getting pressure, then there's no need to call it. We work this one a lot. I think it's a really good one. And I think it's something that can pay dividends for us next year. Just under Aikman. So once again, it's a quarterback. We're running this from an underlook, not an overlook. The end now becomes the dropper. So he's the dropper. Quarterback tells the tackle. He's got the Oscar move. And now we're working this Aikman for A-gap. Working this A-gap stunt where the end is a cop technique. He's contained on pass. Some people call it CTB, contained through B-gap. If that tackle comes down, he'll work off of it. But hopefully what we get is this tackle, quick pass set on the nickel. It's him time to contain through the B-gap. The nickel is going to wrap and scrape. The will is going to go first. So to even up the rush, the nickel should end up on the opposite side of the center. We give him a lot of freedom in this pressure. If he sees daylight, he can take it. But by rule, we would have 2 on this right side, 2 to the left side, the tackle containing to the field. We will slide him out a little more doing this. And to me, he needs to be an athletic guy to at least get out there and show presence. I don't believe that he could tackle a lot of the quarterbacks in the open field that we play, but if he'll just show presence out there pretty fast, hopefully we keep that quarterback in the pocket to allow this pressure to develop. The end takes the Mike spot, the Mike takes the Will spot. And once again, there's the rules for it. And I'll show you just a couple of quick clips on this one. Once again, it's not something that we did a lot this year, but it's something that I like on film from other people, and I think it's something that we'll invest some time in. Here's the Colts doing it. You can see 51 is going to cross in and hit it, and then 93 is going to wrap all the way inside, and they're working for contain with this defensive end. They're going to drop the outside linebacker here. He's the drop player, and he's spying on that. Now, they're doing it, and you'll see guys do this a lot, like man match coverages and cover 1. So they're tagging him to the back. If the back blocks, he will add on to the pressure instead of just doing a normal drop. We don't do that a ton because, once again, we don't play a lot of man coverage. That's a really good way to do it. You'll see LSU get a ton of pressure off that just by that guy adding on into the blitz. Go to the end zone copy. So there's 6. He's going to wrap through. It's a 4-man pressure. The center picks it up. You get that wrapping outside linebacker, and you can see even to the field here, 91 is able to work himself out to contain. 90 is able to work himself out to contain. The ball comes out quick. They're able to play hard cover 2, deny coverage outside, and still dropping guys out for any quick game. Sorry, this is jumping around. So there's the inside linebacker through. Once again, we want him to win on the inside shoulder of that back, get inside, force the quarterback outside. He needs to keep working for width, just get in that window and allow the athletic fast guys to run the quarterback down so they pick up the twisting guy, but the linebacker's able to get pressure. This is a look for us, and I wanted to put this one on here because the coaching point is the Oscar. We should have widened him out. I would say what the kids should have done. We should have done a better job coaching, getting him out in a G alignment instead, shaded on this one so that he has a chance. His steps are bad, all right? So his first step, he should be taking a left-right step. He should be pushing off his right foot, stepping with his left foot at the V of the neck of the guard to get contained. The end is going to drop under control when he sees this sprint, the coaching point, for him to now add himself back to the rush. Had we done that, the pressure works. They pick up the backer, and the nickel twists all the way and is going to be able to run this down. This quarterback was a really good athlete, but to me that's a coaching point, and it's not the kid's problem, it's our problem, and it's those minute details. I loved it, Coach. I sent it to Flat, and he liked it. Coach said minutia on the first one, and I said, man, that's big for some defensive coaches. The coach said minutia, but he's right. I mean, you can draw this up and it all looks cool, but right here, we get a sweep look at it. He just keeps working for width. We're running this from the field. We want to be able to replace this thing. To me now, this is a coverage issue, and they caused us problems here. They put formation into the boundary. So we're wanting to run this pressure from the boundary. This is not a good situation. This doesn't work out good, and they get exactly what they want. They get formation into the boundary. To me, this is a good boundary pressure in high school. Comes from the boundary, comes from the short side, folds it back to the field. It is not a good field pressure. And you can see right here, this guy works out. He needs to continue to go. We needed to have helped him spin a safety down, giving him an outside edge. So that's a couple of the coaching points, some of the issues we've had with it. We didn't run it enough to get really good at it. But I think it's a good one. All right, last one of the sim pressures. This is Brady. Okay, there's Brady. So we've got hot technique here with the end. He's contained on pass. This end is going to drop. I think that if this is a guy that you can teach to do this, he doesn't have to accomplish a lot. To me, he's here for screens, for now screens, bubble screens, anytime the ball is fast out to the perimeter and he can show body presence. If that quarterback wants to come and throw something fast, he shows body presence. Hopefully what he does is by time to get there. Still quarterback term. The nickel's the dropper. Tackle's got the opposite technique. Will and Mike now, Brady, are penetrating through that A-gap. It's fast A-gap pressure. Once again, we get four guys inside stressing these three blockers, and we're still allowed to we're just rushing four guys. And this was a good pressure for us. Let me go to this one real quick. All right, here's LSU doing it. So there's two down. Now they turn 40 loose. And once again, what you see here is by dropping these guys out, they're able to get in that window and get an interception. To me, it's really good here. If you were going to run this blitz and you knew you were going to do it a lot to what LSU does there in their peso front, they've got two outside linebackers here. So instead of teaching a defensive end to drop, if you've got a guy in that situation, okay, we know this week we're third and long, we're going to run this peso and just put an outside linebacker that already knows how to drop. It's same as for a lot of guys, and then you get that guy executing a technique that he's familiar with, that he knows how to do, and that's usually when you see LSU run this, it's usually always out of that peso look. Here it is again, out of peso. So they're going to work out calls for those defensive ends. The back picks up 6, but that's a good matchup for them. I know they're going to feel like they can win that one-on-one matchup, flush the quarterback out of the pocket. He completes the ball, but you get the pressure. You get the desired outcome with this pressure. This was a good one for us. Once again, we were having to run this against Dobbins Bennett. I'm forced to do it to get some pressure. This defensive end's going to hang. We did it with the end because he's a senior, pretty smart kid, a big athletic kid. He was a seam tight end. He's going to ETSU. We felt like we could work it enough and teach him to drop and get enough accomplished where he's hanging there, and then he's able to add himself late to the pressure. The tackle gets pinned. He needs to continue to fight and work outside. This Mike needs to continue to run his feet on the blitz. To me, the coaching point there is continue to accelerate through contact. If you stop your feet, it's just like any pass rush situation. You probably won't get them started again. me, that's the drilling of any of these blitzes to keep his contact going. He needs to punch and rip up through this gap. But we get a drop here. We get an Oscar call. We get the quarterback off the launch point, and we got a dropper there. We got a linebacker, and we almost get an interception. You can tell he's a little gimpy there. He's playing on a bad ankle. He's a really good player. All right, so that's the last one of our sim pressures, and now I've got or creepers. Now I've got 10 minutes to do all those sim pressures. Always the way it works out.
Hey, Coach, you can go a little bit longer if you want, but people can just get out if they got to leave, and you just go until you're tired or whatever. You know,
okay.
If you want to go a couple minutes longer, just have at it.
Okay, I'll roll through this as quick as I can. Then, can you guys see the PowerPoint back now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right, so sim pressure, once again, show space, take it away. To me, sim pressures for us has been more about matchups, because when we show 5 guys on the line of scrimmage, we're going to try to get our best rusher on their worst blocker. We always, when you show 5 up, you're going to get some type of bob or slide protection. Which if they slide, then we're going to get an edge rusher on the back. If they bob protect, we're going to try to make sure we're moving our best guy against their worst guy. The pressures that we run out of it, we really look to hit some fast A-gap pressure. I think there's nothing like just getting that quarterback off the set point, feeling like he can't step up and deliver the football. Even if you don't sack him, if you're pressuring him, he doesn't feel comfortable in that pocket. A lot of guys scrambling out, they might complete for a first down. They're not going to step up and drive the ball 30, 40 yards down the field, most guys in high school. But we feel like if we can get them out of the pocket running, we're small on defense, but we should be able to rally and run them down. It meshes great with our drop eight package. The first thing we're going to try to do in third and long is to get pressure with a 3-man rush. I think in high school football, you can do that. You hear NFL and college teams saying if they can be real good, if they can get pressure with 4, I feel like we can be real good if we can get pressure with 3. Just but high school coaches, who has the time, unless you've got them all day long, to work protections. And guys are the good teams we play, they're way better run blockers than they are pass blockers. And I think that's just a necessity of time. So we feel like that if we can get some matchups there, even 3, and we can get pressure. And this presents a look that now for us can be quarters, man-to-man, or fire zone. So you produce a multiple look, once again, simulating pressure with sometimes just bringing 3 or 4 rushers. This is our base sim pressure front. It's blind. We will play bear, where we walk the Sam up, the Mike, and the Will to get a 5-2. 2 years ago, that's why. So this year it was almost all over sim pressures. Last year it was a ton of this blind look because we played so much bear, and we hadn't really went straight to the tight front, still working on the intricacies of coaching it. But we played a lot more 5-2 bear. So blind looks similar to us. It was a way to window dress the defense, but let this better cover guy go out and cover. The Mike this year, when we ran them, it was the Will down and the Mike back, because we almost felt like if we wanted to waste a guy, what we do out of this more than any is this blind days. It's the number one, other than drop 8 call that we make. We wanted this year, the Mike was a really good blitzer. He was fast. He's the guy 18 you see on those films, the sim pressures running guys down. So we wanted this year the Mike to be blitzing the Will to drop back. So that was the adjustment that we made. But we call blind A's. It's in our baseball terms. Our baseball family it's like a single. In baseball, you hit a single. So if we call Dodgers, it's an outside linebacker coming from D gap. If we call A's, it's an inside linebacker coming from A gap. Brewers, there's 4 or 5 of those, but that's a ton of our base defense when we move are those baseball calls. So this is something that goes within those rules. Sync jam is we got 2 detached receivers. We're going to play read 2, but jam for us is a hard cover 2. This nickel is a seam player. He's got to be alert. It's dicey if they shift this guy out or they have 2 receivers to play 2 seam carry. He's got 2 in or up from the line of scrimmage. So that's once we will tell him that if 2 is detached, if you don't feel like you don't like your matchup, this guy was really athletic. He can do it. But we tell them at the late, you go ahead and start to squirm out. And then we still should get the pressure, and that end just may have to work across the face for the tackle to get contained. All right, so blind A's. And LSU does this a ton. They did it a lot when they had 40 right here because he was such a good blitzer. They get the pressure, the back picks him up. It looks good on film. That's a matchup problem. Their tailback on 40 is a matchup problem, and we feel the same way in high school. That this will happen a lot. That tailback, you may have him, but how bad do you really want to block 40? And now you get an athletic guy, and you've got the quarterback flushed out of the pocket. You guys sitting here to take crossers. You got guys sitting here if they're going to get the ball out and throw screens, and you just got bodies, and he gets rid of the football. I say LSU does this a ton. And there's just a ton. They do so many variations of it from different fronts. They do it with safety. You can tell they allow the Mike to read it out here. If he's got space, that they slide that thing, then he just takes it all the way over. We don't get that in depth with it. A's tells him which A gap to go in, but if they read that slide, he's going to take it, and it's going to turn into a natural X stunt, which is a really nice way to do it. If I had guys 2 hours a day, I think that's the way you teach it. And you see there, it's not always going to work out. The pressure worked, the coverage, there was a breakdown. And you'll see one of these clips that I show you. This is what's happened for us sometimes. They'll turn this guy loose. You always say, don't turn the down guy loose, but they'll see that pressure start to come. They're worried about this fast guy, and this guy ends up generating the pressure. It's not a sack. It's a pressure. He's not being able to step up and deliver the ball. I'm going to go through these. This is Iowa State. They do this a ton. It fits so much into what we do because we're so much a three-man rush in third and long. So now so are they. They get pressure with that. They're going to show 5 now. Like now, okay, we're going to bring some pressure, and then they drop those 2 and bring the Mike and A. And this is Iowa. They've got plenty enough guys to pick this up, a really good offensive team, and they just allow that natural X stunt to develop. That's another nice adjustment too. They just allow that nose to rub himself off, and that Mike's going to get through. Quarterback has to unload the ball into coverage. All right, so this is us. And this is, once again, we talk about it with the fits. This was us running that same look out of our bear front 2 years ago. So we're in our bear front. That's the Sam up, but it's still the A's blitz. He's going to hit that thing. That A gap gets taken. And so I would like for him to continue to work out into the space. That's the one thing I really don't like there. And I put that one here is him just dropping his head and running into that trash. Because I try to tell him the ball carrier's not going into that trash. If there's not space there, just keep working and try to find space. I think it allows you to fast flow the wheel. I think when you run the A's stunt, that wheel can fast flow and come over the top because both those A gaps should be canceled. You can see this is a big game. This is against our cross-county rivals. They're undefeated 6A state champions. We knew we had to do some things to generate some pressure. 3rd and 11, he's got a drop rule. All right, you can see him start to drop. When he sees that pick play, he re-engages. It's a pass blitz. And that's, to me, I think the difference for our guys. I want blind to trigger in their mind that we're thinking this is a passing situation. We get sticks out in practice. We work down in distance in practice. I think one thing that can really help you in a game is if your call like over Cubs is a 3rd and short call for us. I want them to know when we call Cubs, it's 3rd and 1, it's 3rd and 2. Now we're starting to think cat technique. We're starting to think we got to get tackles for loss. When they hear blind, I want it to trigger in their head that this is probably a passing situation. And now if I'm a defensive lineman, I'm on the field more, I'm thinking of a pass rush. If I'm a linebacker, blind A's is a pass blitz, not a run blitz. And we've gotten more and more into doing the run blitzes, blitz certain looks. But I want them to know that this look, this should alert them that even when it's not, we're still sound in it. The nose goes here. 7 tries to read it out. He kind of runs into the back as a double, but now 18 re-engages himself. We've got our good space player. Rocky, just so much of our stuff was so similar. But, this is a 155-pound dude. He was a converted corner he was just a dog. I mean, this dude would get in there and fight and scrap, and he was a really good Sam linebacker for us because of just his mentality, and we're able to run this thing down. This was a really good look. Same game. Now they turn the nose loose. So the nose gets the pressure. The quarterback leaves the pocket. There's the shallow. Now here's the dropper. We need to coach him better. He's just kind of hanging out there. The ball is thrown. He's fixing his face mask. He needs to be driving on that throw. that should be a tackle right there for, that should be a punt team. Now it works out because 18 hustles and punches the ball out. So we've got those guys back, and he's able to we force a fumble and we get the ball back in a huge football game. We give the ball to the offense on the 40-yard line. So I think that is like perfect scenario about how, they're trying to hit some shallow concept, some mesh look, and now we've got bodies. The thing about mesh is if we're doing any kind of man look, picking you off, we've got bodies. We got numbers out there to get it. There's the end zone. Look at that. And they see the blitz. He shows it early. They pick up the blitz and they go out. It's Bob protection. They want to fast release that back because once again, we're getting a mesh look. And now they turn loose the defensive lineman. Coaching point there, stay on your feet. Stay on your feet and run through contact. And we'll make that play. Here's one more look at it. He comes late here. I think I like this one because this was with our younger guys. So we're up in this game. This is almost all JV in here. This is almost all freshmen and sophomores that we can run this with two groups. We got two groups and we expect them to be able to get in and run these calls. And we don't just have to go up and play base defense. We can run the sim pressure, it's 56-28, but that our young guys can get in here and execute this. Now, that's why I put that in. He needs to come on through that A gap a little more. But we get pressure from it. All right, I'm gonna go through this one real quick. I'm probably not going to do all the sim pressures, but I think this is the aspect of it that we do the most. Is our drop 8 look. Once again, blinds the front, crosses the twist. So that's going to now tell that tackle, we can tell him Oscar. Oscar is the same as every quarterback call. The end, he's got a cop technique. He's got a scrape rush. So once they learn these techniques, these 4 or 5 base techniques, we try to plug that into every call that we have. He's a drop technique. He's a drop technique, which is the same as every quarterback call. So the nickel doesn't have to learn anything new. The nose doesn't have to learn anything new. We don't have to work any more technique. When we start having to teach new responsibilities, that's an issue. When we start having to teach new technique, just like Rocky was saying, that becomes a big issue because it looks great on the board. It looks great in practice. And then the guy doesn't take the right steps and you blitz yourself right into a touchdown just because of poor technique. And that's not a kid's problem. That's ours. If we can't rep it, if we can't drill it in half line, if we don't have time to walk it and install it, and if we're going to install something new, we try to do it weeks before you try to look down the road. Okay, this is an open date. We're going to have some extra time today. What are we going to need in a few weeks to beat this opponent? So, but this is something that we do a lot. It's our drop 8 look, and I'm going to go to the film with it, and I'll end with this one just because I think this is a lot of what we do, and we're able to get a lot of mileage out of it. So here's a similar look with the Rams. They're showing 5 up. They're showing that this is cloak for us. If we walk the inside linebacker so blind is the linebackers to the edge, cloak is the linebackers up inside. I think in 2 years since we've had it, we ran that twice in a game, so we don't work it a whole lot. It's something we liked. It looked really cool. I saw it in clinic. We put it in, and then you look back, I probably wasted practice time repping it. So it's something that we started phasing out just because we were calling it. You freeze the feet. I hear, Steve Adazio, I heard him say shifts and motions. They want to unsettle the cleats of our defense. They want to shift, unsettle our cleat. With this stuff, we want to try to unsettle the cleats of the offensive lineman, that he can't just kick out of there and know who he's got. And if NFL teams are going to blow this, that was a 3-man rush. But they still got one-on-one with that tackle. Man, you see Iowa State do it. So they get so much pressure, the coverage buys the time. So you've got a 3-man rush. Here's the cross blitz. He ends inside. Okay. He's going to loop all the way through, and then they daylight rush the Mike. And so, that's something that we do a ton of. He's truly a dropper. He is sitting back for screens, for the ball to come out. He is a daylight rush. He is still going to be the late 4th edition when we spill that guy out. But once the coverage creates the problem for the offense. And all those guys are out there. They see all that color, and then they feel a little bit of heat. They get rid of the ball. This is the blind look for Iowa State. They do so many variations of this. They do, you know, and every year their defensive balls, everybody thinks it's, you know, just all three safeties, but do a really good job. That's our exact cross stunt. That's where we got it from them. And I think these films are so good, guys, because I just tagged our film from this year onto these. This is how we installed this. You know, I installed it. I want to show them. Kids love it. They love watching clips of NFL teams. It takes time on your part, you know, going in and finding them, trying to get them converted over to huddle and labor. It's a pain in the ass, and it takes a lot of time. But I think it pays so many dividends with your kids. They know it took time, and they think it's really cool. I think they think it's cool, and you can say, okay, look, Iowa State was number 2 in the Big 12 in defense. Here's what it looks like when they do it. Here's the Packers doing it, and now, you know, this is how we're going to run it. So this was, you know, straight from our install video cross, and you can see that Mike daylight, and you can see the drop guy and the quarterback, and he throws it into almost triple coverage. I'll go to us doing it. A ton of clips, Iowa State doing it. There's LSU doing it from that blind look, same look that you got in the NFL. You know, what's amazing here is it's a 3-man rush. They've got 5-man protection, and still you get a one-on-one matchup. And it happens to us so many times, is they've got plenty enough to protect us and get it. And you still really end up with 2 one-on-one matchups. You end up with 2 offensive tackles. You know, he oversets this thing, but he loses his help with the guard. And now the quarterback flees the pocket, and, you know, it's a completion, but he's throwing that thing into coverage. I'm going to get to our cuts, and I'll end on this one. So the exact same game where we ran that blind, that A's look, now we're going to get in blind and run cross. Get to the end zone of this. So Oscar called by the nose. We're going to loop the end. He's tight. He needs to turn that shoulder and scrape it just a little more, because he does a good job of that guard. He allows that guard to come in and knock him off the rush, but the quarterback feels it, and he starts to slide his feet. And he's not going to be real happy. He's not dying to stay in that pocket. He needs to keep working. You can see his initial steps, the nose, are good. He pushes off his left foot. He's up the field probably a little too much, to be honest. He should push more with that left foot and work out to that guard. He works out. Now he needs to keep coming. If he just keeps coming, now the pressure's probably going to get there. The quarterback feels the pressure, so he unloads the ball. We're in quarters, the safety drives, and he's able, you know, he's got a big cast on his hand. He probably picks that one, but it puts him in a great situation. Now, this is not from a blind look, but this is just from our drop. And that's why we like blind, because it fits our drop 8 stuff, our 3 safety look. So we just got 3 down. We're going to work an X to this side. Sorry, we're working X to the weak side. So X stunt, the end works inside, the nose loops for contain, and now the Mike is the daylight rusher. So he's hanging there. If the ball comes out fast, screens, he lets the quarterback step up, and now the quarterback, it's just like they got that clock. He's got a clean pocket. He's got time. But we still, in the end, get that tackle one-on-one that gets a pretty athletic. Man, this tackle is good. I think 3 guys off this team signed FCS scholarships, and he's a big dude. But still, to us, one-on-one with our guy, they feel that heat, and then they underthrow that ball, and we get an interception off of it. You know, he's throwing it into triple coverage. This is they get a boot look, so we get our twist. Yeah, and this was big for us this year. Our best player had a torn labrum in the offseason, and he missed the first 3 games. So we knew coming into this game, this was a 3rd round 6A opponent. Game 1, all the stuff with COVID, we knew we were going to have to do some of this to generate some pressure. So here's the X stunt to the right. So this is not the cross. It just fits into our drop 8 family. The defensive end, who's the nickel, goes inside, and now we loop 2. That's where it helps so much having a smaller, more athletic guy. He's able to secure this tackle. He does a really good job. I'm not counting on him having to do it. 40 is the daylight rusher here. So here we let the Mike drop out, and we let 40 be the daylight rusher, because 40's fast. And I know he can go get this guy on the ground. So even if 2 with the twist can't tackle the back, I've got this daylight rusher coming to finish this play. Okay. This is one I showed that coffee house look. This is something that we did in this game. This was against Maryville, crosstown rival, great program, really well coached. So we mug the backer up. Okay. We mug him up and we have him act like he's dropping, which he doesn't act much. You can tell he's ready to get in there, and this is a huge game. We're up 9-0, third quarter, it's 3rd and 14, but you can see him just shuffling out a little bit. 50 now turns him loose and slides down to help because they're expecting a twist. They're well coached. They talk about to one side or the other, you're going to get a twist, help back. This is our guy. He's back. So they're all worried about him. And now we're able to get this pressure. And that's a 4-man rush that's able to generate that pressure over 6-man protection. There's a twist. We're getting pressure there, and it's throwing into a drop 8 coverage. We can play hard corners. We're sound in the middle of the field for any seam routes, any type of play action. And we're looping that nose all the way. He's going to get it contained. And then 30 would become the daylight rusher here. Because it's trips, he's going to be the daylight rusher. So I can go, we've got a ton of clips of this. I mean, we do this a ton. Okay. All right. Like I said, sims and creepers are a small percentage of what we do. But it's a curveball for us. It's something we feel like when we need plan B, when plan A is not going to work, the stuff that we do now, what are we going to be able to go to and execute? And I think it's from year to year. The creepers were really good this year. The sim pressures were really good 2 years ago. Creepers were really good this year because we had a guy that we could move over and over front, and they had protection issues. I think we can have it again this year with our nickel. He's just not going to be a big athletic guy. He's going to be a little, kind of like Rocky said, he's going to be a 5'8", 5'9", 170-pound dude. But if I can get him in a pass rush situation one-on-one with an offensive tackle, I feel like we can win a lot of those battles. That we can get pressure, we can make the quarterback feel it where he's just not able to step up and deliver the ball and allow our coverage to buy that pressure. That quarterback, when they see so many different looks and so many opposite colored jerseys out there, it makes them less inclined to want to throw that ball into that traffic. So guys, that's all I've got. Like I said, I promise you, there's no ego in this. We work our asses off. We try to, take our good players, make them better, try to take our great players and make them the best they can be. But if you're going to win like we win, you got to have some dudes. I've got a bunch of great coaches on this staff. So many guys that, we always say avoid the echo chamber. I don't want to sit in there and those coaches tell me how great they think our game plan is. I've got a secondary coach and a D-line coach that if I put something new on the board, they attack it. And they start talking about, what are we going to do against this? What are we going to do against this? And they're more than fine to tell me on Friday night, hey, coach, this isn't working, or don't call this. This is not, we need to scrap this. And I think that's something we probably don't do enough in the profession. We want to be told how good we are. Chad, we talked about it on your podcast with Coach Standard that, you lie to yourself in practice. I mean, my whole goal on Wednesday is to try to figure out 3rd and short, 3rd and long calls we're going to make and what could they likely do that could hurt us. And we didn't give up a touchdown. We gave up 1 touchdown in the last 3 rounds of playoffs, and we only gave up passing touchdowns all year long. But I'll promise you, the Wednesday before the state championship, our scout team scored 4 touchdowns. And our head coach Gary Rankin, he is raising hell, and he's like, "We are lost. We're gonna get killed." But it's not a time to rip players. I'm writing down, and I'm like, "Look, that's as bad as it can get." Now, here's how we keep that from happening. Here are the mistakes, and I think you see the holes in it. I think what's so important with this stuff is to be honest with yourself. What can you execute? And I don't care to put something in on Monday, work it for 3 days, and if it looks like total crap on Wednesdays, we throw it out. And I think that's what we don't do enough as coaches is, I want to be complex, but I definitely do not want to be complicated. And the worst feelings I've had, the worst games, we'll lose some games, but the games where you feel like you confuse your players, they couldn't play it because it's not fun. It's not fun thinking. It's not fun being confused. ball's running, hitting. It's it's an awesome game. And that's what we're going to do is put them in a position where they can play and have a lot of fun doing it. So, that's all I got, guys. I'm sorry. I know I went over. I tried to cover a lot and just, get you some clips there.
No, that was great.
Yep. Anybody got any questions for Coach before we let him go? Well, it doesn't look like anybody's got any. So, Coach, we really appreciate it. You did an excellent job. That was really good stuff. So.
Well, thank you. Like I said, I appreciate you guys having me on. It was an honor, and you guys got a lot of great coaches on here. I'm proud to be on the list. So
absolutely,
thank you so much for having me.
Yep.
You guys reach out to Coach Nix if you want to hear more about that. I know he'll help you out, and he's one.
Yeah, did you guys see? Did everybody see my email when I had it up there?
Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat, Brian. That'll help.
What's that?
Put it in the chat.
Just type, yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. So for everybody else on here, y'all remember that tomorrow we're going to start at 8 again. Our 8 o'clock session is Coach Hal Lamb, who is a retired head coach in Georgia now, who's going to talk about how to run a championship program. And then our 9 o'clock session tomorrow is Rico Zachary, who is an assistant football coach at Kennesaw State University, talking about defending RPOs out of quarters coverage. So we appreciate everybody coming out tonight, and we'll look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.
Coach.